All right, so hey everyone, today we're going to be building a lottery app using pretty much the endpoint that we have here. So it's located on open data, so it's a free to use public API. So here it is, lottery winning numbers, and you see it's updated, pretty much recently updated. So let's look at what the data is going to look like. And again, the link for this will pretty much be in the description of this. So when we look at the data, let me zoom in. When we look at the data, we see that we're just gonna get like a date, the winning numbers, and we get the multiplier. I guess that's the additional number that they have. So yeah, so we're gonna be building a SwiftUI app using this. So let's get started. All right, so let's minimize this and let's jump into Xcode. And then let's create a new project, app, SwiftUI, Swift, and for this one, we're just gonna call it our lottery app. Let's call it lottery. And then let's just hit create here. All right, cool. Now we have pretty much Xcode launched. Let's just maximize this. And I'm just going to change my device to just being the simulator. All right. So pretty much all you want to do is pretty much like get the data and then pretty much just show it on the screen. So first thing is first, I'm going to see if we can build out some basic UI for this. So just some basic, and then we're going to work on like actually hooking up using Swift concurrency to actually get the data. So if you know me, you know I love using tab views, so I'll get rid of this stuff right here. I'm going to substitute our VStack for a tab view. And then I'm going to jump over here and I'm going to make a new folder. And I'm going to call this our lottery view folder. And then I'm going to create a SwiftUI view. And let's just call this lottery view. All right. Nice. So from our previous streams, we know we're going to pretty much need a view model since the architecture we're going to use for this is MVVM. So I'd say let's just go ahead and create that from now. So let's just create another file and we're going to call this, it's going to be a Swift file, not a SwiftUI file. And we're just going to call this lottery view model. Right? And sorry, team, let me just zoom in so you can see that. It should be decent. Be able to see. So yeah, so basically right now we just have some text inside this lottery view. So now we're gonna grab this lottery view and we're gonna go over to our content view. We're gonna put it inside our table view, our tab view, sorry. Then let's just add that, and let's give it a tab item. Let's make it a VStack, as you know. And now for this, I'm gonna just use some image. I'm gonna use a system image. I'm not sure which image I'm gonna use for this yet. And then below that, let's put text. And let's just mark this lottery, right? I'm wondering though if there's an image, if SF Symbols has an image called, say, cash or money. Let's try money. It's not. Try cash. It might have dollar. Oh, so what we can do is just jump to SF Symbols. So SF Symbols is right here, and this is basically an app that can show us all the images that Apple provides us with that we can use. So as you see, it's like all these, and it's all these categories here that we can kind of check for. So I just want like someone like me. I guess that really didn't exist. So we want like indices maybe. Let's see if we can find a dollar in here. So we can use that to represent, oh yeah, so these are perfect. So we could say like circle 01 circle. Let's just copy name. And then we're gonna jump back over to Xcode like this. And now we're gonna replace this name that we have here with this. And now we have our tab view set up. So the next thing we have to do now is let's see if we can start setting up our service layer to actually get the data. So let's create a new file though. Create a new file. This. And let's say, oh, actually, let's create a folder first. And then we're going to put our new file in there. So let's just call this services. And then let's say file. Let's make this just a regular Swift file. And then we're going to call this service. We could call it lottery service. Lottery service. Lottery service. And now, as you know, we want to prepare for testing. So what we could do is say protocol, then we'll say a lottery service here. And then for this, and I'll add some type of function. So remember, we want to fetch the winning numbers pretty much. So let's name our function fetch winning numbers. You can pretty much name it whatever you want, but for always, we're just going to stick with this. The next thing is that we're going to be using Swift concurrency. So we have to mark this with an async. And the also thing is we want to handle our errors by throwing. So let's mark our throws here. The issue we have now is that one, we want to return some data from the API and then convert it to something that we can use. So to do this, we need to create a model to represent the data that we have here. So we needed to create a model to represent this data. And if you want to look at it in a JSON format, you could just click actions here, click on API, and then just scroll down to this URL, API endpoint. We're going to actually use this, so I'll keep this copy, and then I'll paste this here. And you see, we see the JSON representation of it. So now we know what our model is going to look like. So let's go like this. Let's minimize this for a second. And then we're going to put this over there, and we're going to draw this down a bit. Be able to see that? Now, as I said, we need to represent this data, all this 3 data that we have here as a model. So now to do that, before we can continue creating our service, because we need to know what it's supposed to return, right? We can't just return it. We don't want to return an empty array, and we have to create some type of type that we want to return. So we're going to hop over back to our folders, and then we're going to create one more new folder. We're going to call this models. And then we're going to create a Swift file, and we're going to call that models too. And now for our model, which is going to represent this JSON data over here, we're going to just say struct, and then let's just say winning numbers. Let's just call our model that winning numbers, right? And so winning, it's actually a bunch of numbers. I'll stick with this. I will create a struct like this, and then we're going to say let draw date. I don't know why the NYC open data uses just snake case of these, but yeah, winning underscore numbers. That's actually a string. I don't know why this is in an array, but yeah, we can convert it to an array, but I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll say multiplier. This is also a string. So we're just working with strings there. Alright, cool. The other thing that we know is that whenever we're trying to convert like some data from an API to a model that we can use, and we saw this in our previous streams, we have to mark this with a decodable. So it has to conform to decodable protocol. So let's just add that in. And we should be good for now. So now the next thing is that now we can actually represent the data. Let's make this maximize again. And then we're going to jump over to service, lottery service. Let's just change this name to match so I don't keep messing this up. All right. Now we have our model, our winning numbers model. And what I'm going to do is make this return it. So I'll just say arrow, and then just make this return an array of winning numbers, right? So now we need to add a new class that will conform to this protocol so that we can use it. The lottery service, and I'm going to call this impl, like implementation, and I'm going to have it confirmed to our lottery service, which is going to require us to add that function, and that is fetch winning numbers. Nice. So we got that in. Yeah, cool. So now what we're gonna do is let's just backspace this real quick. I know we're gonna start actually kind of adding the logic that we actually need to actually fetch the data. So you see it's complaining right now about the error saying that, well, our function requires us to return an array of winning numbers, but we have to write a bunch of logic before then, and we don't want to just have this error just here. So temporarily, we'll just put this here. And just as a note, I'm just going to add this. It's only temporary. Cool. So now we'll see this error go away because, well, we're returning an empty array, and this requires us to return some type of array, a winning numbers array. So, all right, cool. So now what we can do is start fetching the data. So first, what we'll need is that endpoint that I copied. I hope I still have it copied. And I'll add this here inside a private variable called endpoint. I'll come like this. I copied something else. So let's jump back to here, and we're gonna grab this URL so we can fetch that data. And I'll paste this here. Cool. So now we have access to the endpoint. So what we want to do now is see if we can convert this string endpoint version to actual URL so we can use it. So we're gonna say like guard let URL equal URL string, and let's just throw our endpoint in there, and it has an else, and just in case we are not able to convert this endpoint to a URL. So we want to throw errors if we get some issue like this. See, I marked it with a throws. So I mean that basically if some error occur or some issue occur, I want to throw an error. So I have to add something for that. I can't just be like return this, you feel me? So instead, what I want to do is say throw, and I want to throw a custom error. So to fill this, if you watch our previous streams, I'm just gonna run through this pretty fast then. So I'm just gonna be enum, and then we're gonna saw lottery service error. I'm gonna make it conform to an error, right? And actually, let's try with localized error, because we always use just regular error. So let's try with localized error. And then we're going to add a case. And the first one, as you know, is going to probably be invalid URL, which is what we're working with now. So let's just throw that since we just added that case. Throw. And we'll say lottery service error dot invalid URL. So now we'll get rid of this error that it's complaining about. Let's scroll down so that you can see. And then now that we're here, we have converted our string to a URL. What we're going to do now is actually use Swift concurrency using URL session to actually get that data. The thing about that function though, it can throw an error, so we have to put it inside a do catch. So pretty much usually any type of error any type of function that can like throw some type of error, you want to throw it in a do catch. So let's say let data response, right? And then we're gonna say try await URL session that's shared, and then we're gonna say data task, and we have to look for the one that uses async throws and just needs a URL, which is this one right here. So don't go with URL requests unless you want to add additional parameters or so. So URL, and then we're gonna throw the URL that we just created up here side of it. So the reason I had to put a await here is because this function, this call right here is asynchronous. And if you're making calling an asynchronous function, you have to mark it with await. So that's why I have the await here. And if you remember, the other part is this function can also throw an error. So I have to mark it with a throw. I have to mark it with a try, sorry. Yeah. So now the first thing we have to do is check our response just to make sure it's good. So a good response is between 200 and 299. You've seen, if you're not knowing what I'm talking about, response is like the status code. So a bad response would be like 404 or 500, you know? So let's do this. So let's say guard let HTTP URL response. And we're gonna say response. And then we're gonna convert that to a HTTP URL response. And we're doing this only because this is the type that we have to convert it to, so we can get the status code, so we can know if it's a 200 or a 400 or a 500 or whatever. Right. So then I'll comment that right there, and now I'll do the check to see if it's between 200 and 299. 299. And then I'll say boom, that contains, and then I'll say HTTP URL response, that's status code, right? And then I'll say else. We don't want to return. Remember, we want to throw errors so that we can handle them better. So now we need an error that can handle if we get a bad response. So I'm gonna add a super simple one. Again, case invalid response. Right. So we'll just say boom, and we'll say throw service battery service error, right? The invalid response. Nice. And yo, if you miss some, feel free to just scroll, push back the stream and like go back and then just repeat it and just take your time, make sure you understand. All right. So the next thing is now one, we check the response, which is this value here, and we check that it is a valid response. So now we need to check convert our data here to be this type or array of winning numbers. Because remember, this is what we want. We want an array of winning numbers. But if we look at data here, I'll option click on this. You'll see that it's in a form of data, which is not what we want. So we have to convert that. And to do that, we have to use a JSON decoder. So let's make it say winning numbers. And we'll say equal, and then we'll say JSON decoder. This is kind of what we use to transform the data, decode it. Let's say decode. And the type we want to confirm, change it to, is an array of winning numbers. I'll just hit that self here. All right, just scroll up a bit more so I don't block you. And then for the other part here, I'll say data. All right, so we got data here. So now we have the array that we want. Oh, it says call can throw, but it's not marked with a try. I'll put a try here, right? And then I'll just return now winning numbers. Cool. And so we should see that error go away. So we can now get rid of this part. Remember I said this was temporary, so let's just get rid of this. Scroll up. Gotta get rid of that. And now what we want to do is add a block here that can handle if an error does occur in this catch block. A good way how to do this, I would say, is using a custom error. So let's just say custom, make it take a string. And then, so whenever an error is thrown, like right here, I'll just say throw. And I'll say lottery service error. And then I'll use a custom. And what I'm going to do is make it that this type of error can return an error. It takes the error that the system gives us, that we get this error variable inside every catch block. And we're going to use a localized description for it. Cool. Let's scroll up now, and this looks pretty good. So basically we just finished writing our service layer logic. So now let's test it out. So if we jump back to our view and our view model, well, let's just go to view for right now. You can see that pretty much we're just still using hello world. So let's add some more stuff to this. Let's say just add a quick navigation stack so that we can add like a navigation title in a bit, right? And then let's just add a navigation title we want. No, I'll say lottery. Let's say lottery. All right, so we see that up here, right there at the top. Now, what we want to do is we want to start testing to see if our API is actually working. So remember we just created our service, right? Now we're going to test it. So we need a way how to basically fetch that data and then give it to the view to show it. So that's the perfect time for us to use our view model. So to do that, let's jump over to our file that we created for lottery view model, and we're going to start by creating one. So we'll say class lottery view model. I'm going to make this conform to observable object so we can listen for any changes that might happen. And then because we want to be able to use our services, we have to add it as a dependency using, say, dependency injection. So we'll say service, then we'll say a lottery service, and then I'll say init, right? And now our view model has access to our service. And I'm going to add a default value here so that we don't have to do this each time, right? So now we have this pretty much handled, right? So let's make it that our view has access to it. So to do that, let's jump back over to our view. And then we're going to give some space here. And then we're going to say add state object dot var view model. Let's say lottery view model, right? So now our view has access to our view model. When I said view just now, it sounded like just hilarious, but yeah. So all right, so for view model, let's just update our preview too. I will give that what it wants, which is a view model. Then we will scroll up. And what we're gonna do now is just add some text in here so that we don't just see a blank screen. Right? Wait for the preview to show that. Taking its, let's just ignore that for now. And then we're gonna jump back over to our lot to review model, right? And now we need to actually write the function that we're gonna use to get the data. So we're gonna say func fetch winning numbers. Right? And then in here, remember, we're gonna say like service dot fetch winning numbers, and we're gonna get a couple errors here. So it's saying, remember, fetch winning numbers, if you jump to it, is an asynchronous call and it can throw us an error. So the first thing is, because it's asynchronous, whatever function we're using it in has to be able to handle that. So to do that, we just mark the function with async. And now you see the error change. So it's saying no, it's saying that this call can throw. And as a reminder, we did make it that it can throw. So let's just jump to it. You see it has the throws keyword there. Now I'll jump back here. And remember, usually if most of the times, if you're handling a function that can throw error, I'd recommend using a dual catch block. So let's drop that in there. And then I'll write the catch block here. And for now, let's just make the catch block just print whatever error it gets. We'll deal with that later. So now we still see an error. It's saying the call can throw, so it's not marked with a try. So we'll just add that in real quick. And then it's going to have one more that's saying it's an async, so we have to add await. Right? So now this works, but we're not using the array of data that we get from it. So let's just add that in and say let winning numbers equal this. All our errors are gone. What we have to do is we just want to test to see that this is actually working. Like, are we actually getting the data? Is it being decoded, or are we hitting errors? So for now, let's just make it that we print winning numbers. Actually, let's use dump. Dump is better for certain things. I think dump makes it that you can see whatever we're about to show to the console in a much more readable way. So now what we want to do is actually call this function. So we can call this a couple ways. We could just add it inside the initializer, but instead we're going to jump to our lot to review. And since it has access to our view model already, what we can do then is on the V stack, we're going to add another modifier like this. So a modifier makes it that you can give a new feature or a new ability to a view. So the ability we want to get to this view is to make it that a task ability or modifier. And this is going to make it that whenever this screen appears, we can make it that we make some asynchronous call right away. I remember we have an asynchronous call we want to make, which is view model that fetch winning numbers. Now what we can do is run it. Let's see how that goes. Oh, let's set some breakpoints just to catch if we get an error. So we'll go over here. I'll say breakpoint here, and we'll set one in the catch block too. And let's just run this now and minimize its oh yeah, of course we have to add that for the content view too, because it requires a view model. So let's just hit that. Now hide this so that you can see what I just did. So remember, we were inside the tab view. Remember, we just had a lot to review. We didn't update it to have to use a new view model requirement that we have. So we just added that in. So now let's just run it again. And when we run it, spinning. On Xcode. I was running in like a couple seconds ago. Okay, cool. So now you see that if I maximize this, you see we do hit our breakpoint, and the good thing is we hit it in the right place. We didn't hit it in our catch block. So that means one, we are able to decode the data. So now let's look what the data actually looks like. So let's do next. And all of this right there, it's a bunch of them. I think it's like thousands. So we might need to add a filter to this, but for now, let's wait. So right now you see it, we have our data decoded. So we have the draw date, the winning numbers, multipliers, all that. So we can just get rid of printing this now. We can just stop the simulator and get rid of these breakpoints. Let's just hide that console right there. So now what we want to do is basically show the winning numbers data that we have here inside our view, right? So this view, right, we want to show this instead of just showing text that says sub. So this one to show our canvas so you can see visual. Yeah, so we want to show something else besides something that says sub. So to do this, we have to jump back to our lottery view model, and then what we want to do is, instead of just creating a new variable that holds this data, what we want to do is store it inside a publish variable instead. So we'll start off with that. So we'll say add publish var, and we'll just call this winning numbers too. And it's going to be of type an array of winning numbers, right? We can just set this to empty. So the reason we mark this as published though is because we want to make it that whenever this array gets updated, we immediately show it inside the view. So if the screen appeared like say early and then we just got the data later, it doesn't matter. As long as we get the data, the view will just update to show it. So what we want to do is use this version of winning numbers instead of creating another one. So let's just get rid of that let. Now we have a property that has access to this winning numbers data, and it gets stuffed with that data as soon as this view appears. So a quick way to test this out is say let's replace text up, and let's just do a list. And then we're gonna say list view model that winning numbers, right? And then let's minimize this so you can see paperwork. Then we're gonna say winning number in, right? Let's just text to see. So let's just show one of them. So let's say text winning number dot winning numbers. Let's just see what our view does. Oh yeah, so we have one minor error that's coming up right now, and expected this one. So basically, whenever we're trying to use a array of say custom models inside a list, inside a SwiftUI list, we have to mark it with identifiable. So you see, this is what the error is complaining about right here. Winning numbers must conform to identifiable. So to fix this is really easy. So we just jump back over to our models folder, right? Our models file. And then we're just going to add one additional parameter, and this will be identifiable. The only thing about identifiable is that it requires us to have any struct that conforms to it must have a ID parameter, ID property. So we'll just add that in. And for this, you could just use like equal UUID, because then it's a unique ID, right? So we'll say UUID, that's cool. And then we'll jump back over to our view, and that error is gone. And our simulator is loading. And now, as you can see, we see all the winning numbers right here. It's 1,000 of them. So we do want to probably limit this, but let's just hold off for now. So the first thing I'm seeing is that what I want to do is that this one string is showing like a bunch of numbers. So it's one string. Let me show you. So it's one string, you see? The winning numbers is one string, but it has each number shown right here. Which is very odd, but we can split that up. So anyways, let's just jump back. And what we're gonna say is, we're gonna start building out the row view for this, and then we're gonna work on splitting up the data. So cut this for a second. And then we're gonna say vstack and start building out the row for each view. The row inside the list. So the first thing we pretty much need is to be able to show the winning numbers. So we need to be able to show the winning numbers, right? And then we need to show the multiplier. And we also need to show the winning date, the draw date, right? So to do this, what we could do is jump over here and let's add in the multiplier first, since that's just one number. Let's just say like text. And then we're gonna say winning number dot multiplier. And you see multiplier is gonna show up eventually. And we don't know what this is, so you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that we should add like some text beside of it. Then maybe if we decide like, yeah, we're gonna know what it is, maybe we could change it. We'll say multiplier. Put that there, and let's just do it like that. So now we know what that is. The next thing that we want to show definitely is the exact winning numbers. But if I show it, I could do it like this. So I really could just be like winning number and then just straight up just say winning numbers. And now we will see above that pretty much all the winning numbers. So if you're cool with this, then I guess you're all set. But what I want to do is I want to make it that for each winning numbers, it has like a ball around it. So kind of similar to how we have, how you might see lottery numbers presented. And the other thing is that we want to show the date. So let's write this in text. The winning number dot draw date. But it's not going to be the format we want. You see, it's like in this weird format. So two things we have to do. We have to convert this to a format that we can read much easier. And I want to make it, I have to split up this one string of numbers so that we can create like balls around each number. Right? So to do that, what we're going to do is actually, instead of just having all this view stuff right here, right? We're going to cut it for a second. And then we're going to jump to our folder and we're going to create a new custom reusable view for that. So let's create a folder called winning number row view. I just call it row view. Yeah, that's going to be a long name if I want winning number. And then we'll say new file. And let's make this a SwiftUI file. And we'll just call this row view. Right? And pretty much what we copied before, we're just going to drop that in here. Paste that, right? All right. Now, oh yeah, you see the view is complaining because it's like, yo, I don't know what a winning number is. And that's because like in our last review, we were passing in this winning number. So what we're going to do is pass this winning number to our new custom view, our row view. So let's make it that it requires it. So to do that, let's just hit let, and let's just say winning number. I'm going to make it use that winning number type. Boom. Cool. And now our preview also requires it. So I'll scroll up. Let's just fill this in real fast. Luckily it's a small model, so it's whatever. And let's just copy it from our here. Let's just copy the date so we can fill out our preview real quick. And let's minimize it so it's faster. Not to keep doing that. Date, it's this. And then for the winning numbers, which is all in are all in one string for some reason, they're just being an array, but whatever, we'll handle it. And then let's copy the multiplier. And then we're gonna just paste this here. Oh, nice. Now we have this, and let's just maximize again. And our preview should be showing us pretty much the same thing. All right, cool. So now we see the date here, and we see each number, even though it's one string, but we'll fix that. So now let's just grab our row view. We're gonna jump back over to lottery view, right? And we're gonna drop this here and remember it requires now a winning number. And remember this is right here, so we can just copy that and then just add this back here. And if we run this or the preview, it's gonna look like the same thing, so which is fine because we haven't done more work yet. The next thing we want to do is see if we can split up these numbers here, which are all in one string, just have them as different, like each individual number inside, say, our array. So a quick way how to do that is we could jump to our model, right? And we're gonna add a new computed property. I'm gonna say like var numbers list, and let's just make this an array of strings, right? Because that's what it is. And then to create this, we're gonna make it that to create this, we pretty much just split winning numbers by an empty space. Because if we look at our data, you see that's what we could split it by. See, there's a space here, space here, space here, whatever. So let's use that. So let's say something like all right, let's say numbers is equal to winning numbers. I think it's comma separated by, yeah. And we're gonna make that just be a space. And now if we look at this, this is an array of strings now. So we've basically created an array of strings using just one string by splitting it by the spaces. So yeah. So now what we want to do is return these numbers right here. So now if we say jump to our this view right here, our row view, our winning numbers has a new property that we can use. So instead of doing like just winning numbers as one thing, and this would be fine unless you want to add like styling to each individual number. If you want to add styling to each individual number, you're gonna have to do the list way we did it. If you just want to show this data, yo, then you're good with just showing like this. So what we could do now is say, instead of using its text, I'll just comment it out so you can compare them in a sec. I'm gonna say something like h stack, right? Because I want to have the numbers going across. And then I'll say for each, so that we can loop through them. And I'm gonna say something like winning number, not numbers list, right? And that's that. And then I'm gonna add number here, and I'm gonna say number in. Roll up a bit. Okay. Off here. I should handle that. So now what we're gonna say is like text, and we're gonna say text number. Let's just give this a second. And like you see now, we see each number here pretty much 12, 13, 34, 44, 67, 08. But now each of these are individual. So I could add like, say, remember, I want them to show like as like a ball around them. So kind of like, you know, a lottery ball. So all I have to do right now is just say like, we're gonna add a couple modifiers. So let's add some padding first, right? Need some padding, and then we're gonna, ooh, that's a lot. Okay, so let's add some padding though, and then we're gonna say background. Then we're gonna say color. Let's make this red. Color, no, color, but we can do circle. But we can pass in actual shape here, and then let's say fill, and let's just make it filled with the color red. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so this looks like pretty much what we want. So now we basically have a way how to show our lottery numbers with the balls in circles. So now let's run it just to see what this looks like when we're running it fully in the simulator. So hit run. And I need to check my laptop. Cool. So now you see it. So we see each number here and we see the multiplier right below, right? So the only issue, or a couple issues, is that one, it's saying that pretty much we are publishing changes from the background thread. It's not allowed. Make sure to publish from that thread, right? So to fix this, and you see we get this warning tool here that kind of pushes us to say, yo, we're making some changes from the background thread to the UI, which you shouldn't be doing. It even flags it here. To fix this is just mark this function with a main actor, right? And then we can just minimize this now and run. Let's run one more time, and then when we run, we won't see this publishing error anymore. Okay, yeah. So now we run, and then like say if we should go back to our view model, we don't see that error occurring right here, but let me just scroll up a bit. Right? And we are pretty much good right now, right? So now what we're gonna do is, okay. So what we're gonna do is let's jump back to our lottery view, right? And actually not lottery view, let's jump to row view. What we want to do is then fix, so the other thing that needs to be fixed then is showing the date in the proper format. So we need to fix that. Now change this from ID to just be, did we not add an ID parameter? Let's see. I don't think we added the ID parameter here. Yeah, I think that's why it's bugging. All right, so let's click on this. Have that right here. just put back self model, and we'll update that in a sec. So what we're gonna do now is add a way how we can, let me load the preview, and then we're gonna add a way how we can basically show a better date instead of showing it in this format, which is definitely not what we want. So we want to show it like Monday or January the 1st, whatever. So to fix this, we have to use a date formatter, and we could do this a bunch of different ways. We could, but one of the best ways I would recommend is making that row view has its own view model and handling the formatting in there. So that's the way I'm gonna approach. Or I could use lottery view model and then have the function and then just pass it in. But I'm gonna make that row view as its own view model since we're using MVVM architecture. Excuse me. So now if we go to row view row number folder, we're gonna create a new file and let's say next, and we're gonna row view model, right? And then we're gonna say class row view model, and then we'll create it like that, right? So now if what we want to do, then you want to make it that this row view uses our view model, but we want to also have access to the model that's passed into it, which is this winning number. So what we can do is, instead of passing this to the view, let's cut this, and we're going to throw this inside our view model instead, like that. And then let's just add an init here that's saying that it's required, right? And we're going to jump back to row view, and we're going to make it that this view requires our row view model. So we'll say var view model dot row view model, right? And now we good. So you're seeing these errors because remember earlier we were just using directly winning numbers, but now we're using a view model, but the view model has the winning numbers model. So all we have to do is just say view model, instead adjust it to say, instead of just doing winning number directly, to doing view model dot winning number. And then here again, view model dot winning number, again view model dot winning number. And then that fixes that portion, right? But for our preview, which is here, we want to basically update it to have it require the view model. Cut that, say view model, and then for preview, let's just throw in the previous model that we were using. And now we should. One sec though, I need to charge this laptop, so I'm just gonna plug it in real quick. Yeah, and just like that, I'm back again. Yeah, and just like that, I'm back. So now what we want to do is basically, we have updated it here, our row view, to use our view model, but now we have to update the one inside our list view, because remember this still thinks we're just using a regular winning number. Let's just clear that. I'm gonna say view model, row view model. Let's just throw in the winning number that we were using. Now if we run this, we should still pretty much see the same feature. It's just that behind the scenes it's using a view model for the row view. So you see, we see that right there. And then we'll cut that and let's minimize this. We'll handle that error in a second, but for now let's just keep updating. So now we can have a view model that's used inside our row view. So what we want to do now is jump to our view model, and this is where we're going to write the logic to convert that date to a more readable and understandable date. So boom, to do that, we are going to create first a function, and then we're going to call this convert date, right? And then we're going to make it that it returns some type of optional date, right? So the date that we're trying to convert is this format, right? Let's just grab this, right? And then we're gonna maximize so we can focus. And we're gonna keep seeing this error saying like, yo, we require either optional date for this function. So just to silence that just for now, I'm just gonna be like return no. We're gonna remove that in a second, but just to get rid of that error so it's not bothering us. So now let's add back the date that we added as a reference, so we could use as a reference, and we cut this, so we could use this as a reference. All right, so next thing we need to do is remember to convert dates from this type of string format to like a date type, or to a more readable date. We need a date formatter. So we're gonna say let date formatter. I'm gonna say equal date formatter. Right. Nice. And now what we could do is say go down to our convert date. I'm gonna say date formatter, and then I'm gonna say date format. I'm going to give it the format that we want to handle for. So literally what my style is to literally just copy this, and then I'll paste this here, and then I'll convert these numbers to like YYY representing the year, Y, and then for month, MM, day, DD, and then for the T, you actually have to put these marks here, this, and then for these, the timing now, we have to actually put these in as HH, MM. I think this is just common M, or lowercase m. In Jamaica, we say common M, but yeah, so SS, right? And now what we're gonna do is see if we can use this format, give the date, since we've given the date format to this format, we're gonna see if we can convert the string now, which is like this, to our what date type. So to do that, we can just say date, and then let's say winning number date. Say winning number date, yeah. And then this is gonna be date formatter, right? And then we're gonna say we need to find the function that takes in a string, which is date from, and then we're gonna throw in the string that we have from our model. Cause remember, our view model now has access to our model, so we could just say like boom, winning number. Oh, wrong one. Winning number, and then we're gonna say draw date. And now, instead of returning nil, we'll try to return winning number date. And this is an optional value, and we want that. Because if it's not there, then we could just handle it and show something else or not show the date at all. So now we have this function in our row view model that handles the date formatting. So we could also potentially test this later on, which is good. So now what we have to do is jump to our row view, right? And we want to use the method that we just created to convert dates inside. So let's get rid of this that we have here, which is how we were showing the original date. I'm gonna load up the preview so we can probably see this as we do this. All right, let's get rid of this old date that we have here, and then we'll say if let winning date, right? We're gonna say view model convert date, right? Call that function on it. And then, so we're checking like, yo, if we can actually convert this date, let's convert it. And then let's show it inside a text. So SwiftUI text can handle date types. So, and then like show it as like a proper date. So I'm gonna show you. So remember this type right here, yo, is a date, right? But I'm gonna use it inside a text view. So let's just drop in winning date. And then we have to add another parameter called style. And then for this, I'm gonna hit date. So let's see if this worked. Perfect. So you see it worked here. We're able to see November the 23rd, 2024. And now if we minimize that for a second and then run this, we get the date that we wanted showing for each of them, right? And it looks like it's from the most recent. So this is pretty much what we wanted for now, right? Let's minimize it again. And now what we could do is, let's see if we could change the style of the list. I don't really like how the style of the list looked just now. So to do that, all we have to do is jump to our lottery view. And then right here, I'm gonna say a list style, list item tint, a style. And let's try playing. Let's just what this looks like. We should be able to see this from the preview too. Let's just run this in the preview real quick, so that we can switch between different lists to see which one works best for us. So this is how the plain list looks. It doesn't look too bad to me. Let's look how. I think insert group is the default, so let's look at grouped. I don't know. This one just seems kind of boring to me. I think I'm gonna end up going with plain. Let's just look at one more sidebar. This might not be for us, so ooh, that looks hideous. All right, so let's go with plain. Right now, we'll see it like this. Perfect. Other thing I want to do though, I want to change this text inside our balls for it to be one more bolder, and I want to make them white. So let's jump to our row view, and inside here where we are showing our text here, I'll just simply just put a dot modifier, a bold modifier, and just hit bold. You see they got a bit more bold, not like crazy bold, but they got more bold. Let's see if we can add also a foreground style, and let's just make this white. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I feel like I definitely prefer it looking like this. I'm gonna keep this right here. And then for the date, let's see if we can add like a little something about the date, so like the user can look at it and know right away. So one thing I'm thinking is, in a simple way, I love using this view from SwiftUI, is a group box. Yeah, I tell you, this view is amazing. So if I plop this inside here, right? So this looks. Yo, that looks way better to me. It just looks clean. You know what I mean? So if we run it again too, or actually we don't even have to run it, we could just jump to the preview. So if we run it again, let's do a preview. Yeah, I like this because now you can immediately see which date you were looking at. You know what that one is. So honestly, that's kind of like the main things that we could do for adding into our view here. The next thing I want to do is, as I said, this is a huge data set, so more than likely this will take some time to load. So what we could do is show like a spinner as we're loading the data. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. So we'll jump to lottery view model, right? Then we're gonna add another publish variable, but it's gonna be add publish var is loading. Let's make this boolean equal false, right? Yeah, in a boolean which is equal to false, and then as soon as we start loading the data, we'll set this to is loading is equal to true, because that's kind of when we want to show the spinner, like as soon as we start fetching some data, let the user know like, hey, we're doing something. So, and the other thing is we want to hide the spinner as soon as we get the data, or if we get an error, right? So we'll say to do something like as the last thing in a function, we can use a defer, and then just say what we want to do in it. So I'll say is loading is equal to false. Right. So now what we could do is jump back to our lottery view, right? And now we're gonna add another modifier here. So we're gonna say like overlay, and then we're gonna say boom, if view model that is loading, right? And if it's loading is true, we're just gonna say show a progress view. And on this progress view, let's give it some title. Say title and say fetching weighting numbers. Let's add like an emoji on this. I'm thinking a catch emoji. All right, so now let's check this to see how this looks. So basically, let's run our app, and then as we're fetching the data, you'll notice that we should see like a mini spinner. It was really fast this time. So let's see if we can catch it another time. Really super fast. So what we're gonna do is kind of force it to delay so that you can see it way much better. So to do that, we're gonna jump to our lottery view model, right? And then what we're gonna say is we're gonna say like we're gonna wrap this with a dispatch queue. Blocking that for you. Sorry, people. So we're gonna say dispatch queue that main async after. Put a deadline and say no. Let's just say plus 3 seconds. Get rid of this. We don't need this. And then let's hit this, open up this. We're gonna put our actual API call inside of here. First functional types. Oh yeah, we have to use a different version for this. Okay, so we want to delete. So how we could do this a different way is, instead of doing it here, cut this, right? And let's just jump to what we could do is, I think is there a way to do this with tasks? Let's see. So I just want to delete so that you could see it a little bit longer. But what we could do instead is not turn it to false in our defer. So I'll just say cut that right there. So basically it's gonna always be spinning because I didn't change back is loading to true. I'm gonna fix our indent that we have here. Let's just remove this extra space that we got here. Nice. So now if we run this, because remember we're no longer changing is loading to false, see that we still see the spinner right there, like it's just spinning. So basically that's when it's gonna be spinning. Usually gonna keep seeing that until is loading becomes false. So if I add this back here, it'll set it back to false. Yeah. Okay, it was really fast, that's why I didn't see it. But it's there. So another thing that we could do is add a pull to refresh feature. Say if say when the user gets to the screen, if they want to see the latest stuff, they can, or they're not sure if they're seeing the latest stuff, they can pull, drag down and see that. So if we jump back to lot review, we have to just add a new modifier to do that, because SwiftUI makes this super simple. We could just say refreshable, right? And then inside here, we just call back the same function. So just say like view model that fetch winning numbers. And I can show you this in the preview too. Love SwiftUI for that and more. So inside our preview here, you see if I drag this down, we immediately see that spinner at the top, right? And that's pretty much fetching that data right there. All right, nice. So now we have made it that one, we can show a loading spinner as we're fetching the data, and the user can also pull to refresh. So now the second last case that we kind of want to handle is if an error occurs with the API. Let's just add that in real quick. So let's maximize this again. All right. And now what we're gonna do is jump back to our view model, and you see right here in our catch block, we're just printing the error. So what we want to do instead is say show an error if it occurs. So what we could do is say add two new properties here real quick. Let's copy this as just like an example. So paste this, and we're gonna change this one to show error alert, which is going to determine whether we should show an error alert or not. And then the next thing is at publish var, and we're going to say error message. Make this a string. Nice. Now inside our catch block, which is where we would get an error, we'll just say error message, which is a string property, right, that we created. We're going to make it equal to error.localized description. And then after that, we're going to say show error alert.toggle. Now we have in our view model a way how we kind of want the UI to respond to error messages. So now we have to jump back to our lot review, right? And I'm sure you guessed it, we have to add another modifier. So let's say dot alert. That's the modifier we're going to add. And then we choose this one, and then we'll say for is presented, we pass in view model that show error alert, which is a boolean we created. Remember? So remember I jumped this. It's the same boolean that we created. So whenever this is true, that's when we'll see the error alert. And whatever error message we want to show, we put it inside this property, error message, right? This. So now if we go back, we just have to add a alert type, alert view. So I'll say alert, and it just requires a title and some text. So then the text I want, the text is the error title you want to see, the message. So remember we have an error message property. So let's just add that in there. And now if we run this now, it won't show the alert because our API isn't failing. So what we could do instead is say go to our lottery service, and let's just do a quick messing up our API. I'm just gonna remove that, and I will press compute. I'll run that right now, right? And now you see that as soon as we run it, we see this error that says operation couldn't be completed. So we are able to see some basic system errors. So what we want to do instead is see a custom error. So we want to see something that the user understands what is happening on the screen. So what we just showed, most users aren't going to be sure. I'm not going to be sure what that error is. So what we could do now is let's jump to our lottery service, right? And then remember we were using localized error. I'm going to show you first how to do it using a regular error like this, right? And then I will say, oh, look at this, stick with localized error. It's all right. So let's stick with localized error. And the only thing that we pretty much will need to update is error description. So we're going to add a type called, say, error description, right? And this will be based on, so basically we want to show a specific, more readable, relatable error message for errors in our error case. Yeah. So we'll say switch self, right? I'm gonna say case. Let me scroll up a bit. Case, and then for the case where it's an invalid URL, I want to say something like, yo, this is an invalid URL. Invalid URL. Do not say yo to your users, people. Don't do that. I'm just messing around. All right, so invalid response. And then, well, you want to say this is invalid response. And then we have one last type, which is our custom error. And we're just going to make this an error. And then what we want to say, if we had a custom error, let's say something definitely went wrong. And then let's show them what the system error says. I'll just pass an error like this. And now that satisfied this. So now we basically have our custom error that we can use, right? Now let's jump back to our lottery view model, right? And then inside here, what we're going to do is create a type. Say, we're going to create one extra type here, and this is going to be a error type. Let's just call it error type. And let's make this a, oh yeah, our error. So we'll say NYC. A bit again. Lottery service error, right? Let's make this optional. And then we have a published variable that's optional, right? So let's just jump back to here. So the way how we were originally doing it, we're gonna, because we're using a localized error, there are multiple ways how to do show alert. So because we're using the simpler way first, this is how we would do it. But before I switch to using our localized error, I'm going to show you how you can show a custom error still the simple way. So, and then I'm going to show you using localized error. So you can decide which one you prefer. So this is the way. As you see, it's just super simple doing it this way. We just toggle it separately and then we set the error message. What we're going to do instead is convert the if let custom error is equal to error, and then what we're going to use, so we convert error as our type of error. So lottery service error, and we're going to say error message is equal to custom error, right? And then this is going to be our error description. Remember, this is what was on that type. Pretty much, right? Error description. And now you see that it's saying, yo, this might not work. If that doesn't work, let's just go with the system one. Nice. And now if we run this again, you'll notice that we probably see like something went wrong or something similar to that. But it's going to be a custom error. You see, something definitely went wrong, unsupported URL. So this is the custom error that we added, and it's much more easier to understand what might be happening. So you see something definitely went wrong. What was that? Cool. So now that we have that one. So that's the older way how to do it, or the easier way. Other way how you could do this is by using more of localized error. So what we could do is let's get rid of this alert that we have here, and then we're going to say alert, and then we're going to look for the one that takes a localized error, which is this one right here. And you see it just requires a binding, so we'll use our binding that we have for show alert error, and then for a localized error here, which is a optional value, let's use the type that we created. So view model error type. And then for actions here, let's just open this up. And I think we can just add like a button here. And let's add something here. Oh yeah. Button. And let's pick title key role action. Okay. And let's just give this some type of title. Okay. Button role is gonna, I think we could go cancel. All right. And then inside here, we'll just toggle back view model that show error alert. Basically saying hide this error that we just showed. So now what we're gonna do, right, is say jump to lottery view model, right? Get rid of this other stuff that we have here. And now what we could say is, you see this error type that we have here? Instead of using error message, we're just gonna say error type, and then get rid of this stuff right here. And let's rerun it. And you see, we see the same thing. So it's just a different way of handling it. But if you want more customization, or you want some of the pre-built stuff, you can do it that way. But honestly, I usually just go with a simpler way. It's much faster, and I feel like it's easier for newer people to read. So whichever one's more comfortable for you, do it that way. All right. Now we can show our errors, right? But the next thing you're seeing is that once the user clicked on that error, they're back to this blank screen. So they have no idea what's happening. The only benefit is that they can still try to pull to refresh, but you're still hitting this. So what I'd recommend is having like a empty view state, just in case say there no lottery, they don't get any lottery numbers in the array. So how we can do this is using a content unavailable view made by Apple, and that's in Swift. Love this view. All right, so what we're gonna do is jump back to our lottery view, right? I see right here where we're showing the list. Basically, we only want to show this list if view model that winning numbers, which is this, has actual numbers in it. If it doesn't, we want to show a different type of view to let the user know something might be up. So to do this, we're gonna say if view model that winning numbers that is empty, but we're gonna make it not empty. If it's not empty, then we show the list. Good, show the list. Cut that, put that up there. Scroll down some more, and then we're gonna say else case now would be what's gonna happen if the list is actually empty. If winners array winning numbers is empty. So what I want to do is do content unavailable view. And then I'm gonna go to system title, system one that takes a title, system image, and a description. So hit that. And then for a title, basically you just want someone to make the user know what's happening while they're on this blank screen. No winning numbers found. You could pick something else. I encourage you, whenever you're doing this stuff, like you're coding with me or so forth, try to put in like your personal feel to it. You don't have to like match my strengths all the time. I feel like when you do that, when you put in your personal feel, one, it makes it that you're more interested, like you're more committed, and it kind of helps you to learn faster. You know what I mean? So now the next thing is, let's add right here, let's add like a magnifying glass for the And then for the text now, we're gonna give it some more detail, like for the description. We're gonna say like maybe your we could do something wrong, right? Something wrong. Please check your internet connection and retry. And retry, right? Now, what we can do is test this out. So let's just run this again. And we're gonna get an error so that when we see that error, we're gonna see the empty content view. So you see it like the content unavailable view. So now the user, if there's a case where for some reason they don't see numbers, they will at least know like what might be happening, like what might be the problem. This is a plus. So now let's add fix back our API so that we can stop seeing those error messages. So let's jump back to service and in this, this for a second. And then where is it? Oh, our endpoint. Let's fix back our endpoint. I don't remember what that is, so let's just jump back to the browser and grab it. Say Command C. And then let's plop that right back in there. And then let's run that just to make sure we are good. Alright, cool. So we do see it. Nice. So now what we could do is, so now we have a lottery app view that can show all a list, an array of all the lottery winning numbers right here, right? We can show a list of all of the winning numbers right here. We can also see the date that they played. We can see the multiplier, all of that good stuff. So now we can keep track of whatever winning numbers are played, which is great. So now the next thing that we want to do, and kind of the last thing, is so basically at this point, if you're still here, we're basically pretty much done. The last thing that we're gonna do is fix one error that I keep seeing flashing up each time when we try to pretty much use view model.winning numbers list inside this for each. And it's flagging me because it's saying that for each referencing initialize or init for each requires that string conform to identifiable. There's no way string is gonna conform to identifiable. So what I was hoping that we could do is just do id dot slash self. But when we do that, it does get rid of that error, yes. But when we run it again, you see this warning pop up here where it says for each the ID 09 occurs multiple times within the collection. This will give undefined results. So we're not seeing any real issue happening, but we are seeing something that's might be happening in the background that we need to fix. So see how we can handle this. So let's see what other properties that we can use. So we say .id dot, then it's referring it as if it's an array. So let's grab some type of something that we could use. It's referring it like that. So what I want to do then, dot oh, I'll cut this, right? And then what we could do instead is say something like indices. And now you see it's not flagging me about that error, but it's like, what is number then? So now if I use it this way, where it's like I'm using it like indices, basically this value isn't a number anymore. It's actually an index. And what I can do now is say index, right? And then if I want to get the data for each of them, I just got to say boom, view model winning number, paste that there, and then just hit index right here. And now let's run this again and see if we still see these red errors popping up here. Oh, we have to put see what this is. index, yeah, that's it. Let's say view model. Oh, I know what's that. I know what we're missing. The view model, that winning number, right? Dot numbers list. I was like, wait, what is this? That should definitely work. So now this will definitely work. Cool. It's giving us some warning, whatever. We should be good with that. If we run this now, we scroll, you'll see that we're not seeing that nasty red error anymore. So pretty good. The only warning we're seeing here, and it's not a major one, it said non-constant range, not an integer range, but we still should be good with this. If you do find a better way to handle this portion right here, for showing each number here, what you could do is just pretty much mention it in the comments and let me know. But yeah, so this is basically like the whole gist of the lottery app then. And as I said, we're doing this live, we're freestyling, no practice, just building it off the top of our noggin. Luckily, we didn't have to hit Google this time. But yeah, so basically, like we're saying, now we're able to get the lottery data and show it and build our own custom lottery app. If you like this video and you like live streaming and you like seeing some mess ups but learning from them, definitely follow, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, add some comments, anything you like and you might want to see me work on. Yeah. So again, thank you and I'll see you later, y'all. Bye.